fundamentally what we want to do is make sure that you are always safe, that you're doing what feels good for your body. If at any point you feel like something's a little bit sticky, you know, like maybe the muscles are just screaming at you or they're just not playing ball, then I want you to just stop doing what you were doing and just sit in a comfortable position. And then we can support you as best as I know how when we're just one-on-one. So I'll come back in and check on you. But the intention of this practice is to cultivate resilience. Okay, so you can grab your NEROLI and let's get started. A comfortable seat. You can either be crisscrossed, so legs underneath you, or folded. I'm actually going to take something and place it underneath my hips so that they're a bit higher than the knees. And for today's practice, we're really looking at this concept of resilience. Like, what does it mean to be resilient? And although there are certain descriptions and meanings of the word resilience, which I will add in for the replay as well, as in some links to some reputable sources for explanations on what resilience is, I want us to consider that resilience is just a bounce back, really. It's about having the grit and the tenacity within you to start again, to constantly revisit this idea of beginner's mind, of knowing that no matter what happens in the world, no matter how we perceive ourselves or how others perceive us, that we are completely in control of how we approach any given situation. And this ability to be resilient is a skill. It's something that we learn. It's either taught to us in early childhood, in early childhood by just simply witnessing caregivers or those in our lives being resilient, or it's taught through experience. So if you've experienced any sort of trauma, and recognizing that trauma in itself is so subjective. So it's not necessarily only if you were brought up in a challenging environment. You could experience trauma in the most blissful environment, but just your perception of your experience brings about an experience of trauma, right? So I'm using that word really loosely in this setting, but an experience of trauma and the way that you deal with that experience time and time again gives you a sense of resilience. And so there are many different ways that we can cultivate it. And in this setting today, we're going to look at ways that we can cultivate resilience in the body. So to begin with, I'd like for you to please take your NEROLI. And we're going to place the NEROLI on your pinky finger. Okay, you roll it on the pinky finger. Dab it onto both pinky fingers. And then there's a little fossa, a triangular fossa in the corner, top corner of your ear. It's like there's the big part of the flap of your ear, and then there's the whole of the ear, and there's a little triangular space in between those two. So in between the big flap and the hole is this little triangular divot. Your pinky finger could, in most cases, fit rather comfortably into that space. And this is what we call ear shen men. Yeah, ear shen men. So you can either have your fingers just gently pressing in like this, keeping your elbows nice and tall, or if this feels really uncomfortable for you, you can bring your knees up and place your elbows on your knees. I find that I still need to twist my hands so that the palms face the back in order for the pinky fingers to rest really comfortably into that triangular fossa. And I want you to stay here. If it feels comfortable to do so, close your eyes. Just stay right there. We'll open up the practice. Your breathing is soft and gentle. This point in your energy system, Ye Shen Men, brings about a calming and a soothing effect on the body. It's known as our reset button. And stay here a few more minutes. And as we're allowing the body's energy system to reset, we couple this point with neroli, which is an oil so powerful in helping us to release guilt and shame. The energetics of neroli calls us into a state of beingness, a state of acceptance. Quite often the reason that we find ourselves not being as resilient as we had hoped is because we are in a spiral of shame and or guilt. And whilst those emotions can be helpful in small doses, they can be really helpful to help course correct or bring us into alignment. It's when we start to wallow in those emotions that we lose ourselves. And in that process, we lose our ability to bounce back. So for today's practice, we've used Ye Shen Men to calm the nervous system and neroli on Ye Shen Men to really help the energy system let go of any guilt or shame, anything that may be holding us back from being our most resilient selves. You can release that point. Bring your hands to your belly. If this feels really comfortable for you, you can have both hands on your belly, or you can even bring one hand. Now I want you to be really relaxed in your belly, like let it all hang out. This is a concept that we don't really get taught in our Western culture. We're always taught to zip up those jeans and tuck it in. This is almost counterintuitive for the body. And the minute you allow yourself to relax in the belly, you are actually sending a beautiful signal to the nervous system that you are safe. And it's a very simplified version of what's going on when we relax the belly. Of course, everything that's connected in through the lower pelvis up until the thoracic spine, we have nerves, we have a vagus nerve, like the most crucial cranial nerves that run through from the brain all the way down into the pelvis. That vagus nerve is connected to your breath. We also have the psoas muscle that's connected from the thoracic all the way into the inner thigh. This is the strongest muscle for its size in the human body. And it is responsible for hip flexion, which is when you bend at the hips. And when we are in fight or flight mode, this muscle activates. So it gets us ready to pounce. Okay, very strong muscle. And when we relax the belly, when we really allow the body to be in a parasympathetic state, we're signaling to all of these body parts that we're safe and that it's time now to rejuvenate, to rest and digest. So relaxing the belly a lot is super important. Notice if your breath is actually moving in and out through the belly. Just notice where you are breathing. And if comfortable for you now, I want you to start feeling your breath into your hand, the hand that's on the belly. So when you're breathing in, the belly expands. And when you're breathing out, the belly contracts. And of course, we're not really breathing into the belly. We're actually breathing into the lungs, but this changes the pressure between the abdominal and the chest cavity, which then bellows the belly outwards. This is called diaphragmatic breath, diaphragmatic breathing. You're going to be here for another 2 minutes. Breathing into the belly. Breathing softly and gently, but allowing the belly to move with your breath. It's said that this is actually the most important breath technique. You can do fancy breathing techniques, pranayama practices, ones that help with blood pressure and digestion and calming the nervous system and energizing you. But it's all for nothing if you're not using your diaphragm muscle to breathe properly. And by properly, I mean deeply. So this practice is something that I recommend you do every morning for at least a minute. Deep diaphragmatic breathing, belly breathing. And the intention with that is to do it on the mat so that you do it in your life. Every single waking moment that you're breathing deeply. This becomes your MO, your mode of operation. So that you're always breathing deep into the belly. You're always taking deep, full breaths. Allowing the body to be nourished by this oxygen that you're breathing in. Take 3 more breaths here. One more deep breath. And if your eyes are closed, you can open them. And we're going to find ourselves on our mat in a position called child's pose. So I'm going to give you a couple of options here for child's pose. Options that you can do in an active state, but also in a supported state. Let's move all of my goodies. So I really love having child's pose super supportive. So I've got a huge, big meditation cushion that I normally put under my knees. You don't need it. And I really love having a supported child's pose. Option here is to keep the knees touching or if you'd prefer, the knees as wide as the mat. So the differences between the widening and the shortening of your angle is if you're looking to have some pressure in through the belly and use that diaphragmatic breathing against the thighs to massage your internal organs, and having the knees closed it's really helpful. I love this closed position because it really helps to massage my organs, my digestive system. But this wide-legged child's pose is really nice as well to bring relief into the belly. So if the closed legs is just not comfortable for you, then open it up, no big deal. You're going to relax your body down in between the legs or on top of the legs, depending on which position you've chosen. And so for a more active child's pose, you'll extend your arms nice and wide. Now, the only non-negotiable here is that your forehead touches something. So whether it's the ground or a prop, propping yourself up would mean either bringing a pillow or a blanket up. If you need any sort of height, you can stack your props as high as you need and rest the third eye down. So this is a supported restorative version of child's pose. In here, we're really allowing the body to come into the fetal position. And we're here for 3 minutes. We will be moving a little bit more today than we did in our previous session. Not too much, but just moving through 2 or 3 poses before we come back down to the earth. So use this time here to really relax into a pose that brings about a sense of safety. So the thing about resilience is that we are so much more resilient in our lives if we have a base to come back to, a safe space to come back to. Now, that isn't always possible for us for whatever reason, but what is possible is creating that safe space in ourselves, knowing that we are and have everything that we need already within us, and that we are safe in our body, that we are safe in this vehicle that we get to live in. So whilst the world may be chaotic and there's a lot going on around us, we can always come into the knowing that this vehicle that we have is a safe space. And we can cultivate that through poses like child's pose, through breathing, deep diaphragmatic breath, and also through Ie Shen Men, so really calming down the nervous system. 1 more minute here. See if you can relax your body even more into the pose. Maybe your shoulders start to drape. Maybe the back of your body lifts up just a little bit more. Maybe you find you don't need as many props the longer you stay in this pose. Three deep breaths, breathing in through the nose. And if you feel you need to let anything go, breathe out the mouth. You can gently start to come out of the pose. We'll take the props off the mat. Now you can keep a prop close by. We're going to do a supported downward facing dog. Again, there's an active version of down dog, and I'm going to teach you the supported version, which seems a little bit clunky at first, but when you get the hang of it, it's really, really juicy. So your arms get stretched out wide. For this, we have the knees hip distance apart. Your paw print, your hand position, is instead of it being directly underneath the shoulders and as in 4-point kneeling, your paw print is just one paw print forward, one hand length forward. You're tucking your toes underneath. Yeah. Sink your hips back towards your heels. Press into your hands, into the knuckles, the pads, and the whole of the palm. And then strengthening through the arms, gently lift your butt up to the sky. Downward facing dog. This is an active version. Legs long. You can pedal out the feet if you need. You're in an inversion here, so you're allowing the blood to move its way all the way through to the brain. And then you can come back down and just take a look to see what I do for the supported version. And you may choose either one of these two. I bring blocks or pillows or something that's going to land directly underneath my head. So just look at it first before you go into the pose. So you're in your down dog and you're just resting your forehead on a supportive structure, a supportive prop. Yeah, it's just really resting the head. So go into whatever version works for you. And I'm just going to talk you through a couple of things about why we have the front of the head down. Why do we rest the forehead on a prop when we are looking to not only build resilience, but to calm the nervous system? So when we rest the head down, when the forehead is resting on any given surface, so whether it's on your arm, on a prop, on the floor, on another part of the body, the brain presses against the forehead. So in the skull, the brain presses against the forehead. And this is a very soothing signal for the nervous system. It tells the nervous system that it's time just to wusa, time to chill. You may notice this actually when you're in a stressful situation, maybe in your life, and you just put your head down. I remember when I first learned this in a yoga class, I remember going to work once, because it was many years ago, and I started to notice how when things got really tough, people would just put their hands up on their heads, you know, they'd sit with their desk and just kind of rest their heads in their hands. And without realizing it, we're doing that. We're just really calming down the nervous system. And so even if you were to place your hand over your head, which we're going to do in a little while, this is a really calming effect on the nervous system. And so we're replicating that in these poses. So not only receiving the full juiciness of the pose, but also then calming the nervous system while we're doing that. So just stay here for 3 more breaths in this inversion, strengthening and toning through the arms and the legs. Downward facing dog is an excellent pose to do for 3 or 4 minutes a day. And it really helps to rejuvenate the face. The hips are higher than the heart. So you're letting any pooling in the hips, any blood or any stagnation in the hips to move its way down through the force of gravity. 1 more deep breath. And then to come out of the pose, just drop your knees, cross your legs behind you, and then sit back onto your butt. And extend the legs nice and long now. You can keep your props there, the pillows, the cushions, whatever it is that you've got. I'm going to extend the legs nice and long. And we're going to go into another pose that's a forward fold, another relaxing pose for the forehead. So this is called caterpillar pose in yin yoga, and in yang yoga, it's called paschimottanasana. But in yin, we're going to extend the legs nice and long, but also just flop the feet out. It's completely floppy. So there's no muscular activation whatsoever. And then we're just going to curl the body in and down, bringing the head towards the shins. So this is going to create some pulling in through the lower back and through the backs of the legs. So if no props here feels good for you, stay right here. Or the use of props, you can bring a block or a pillow in between the calves or the thighs and just kind of hang out here. Or in this case, with the forehead down. In the last session, I talked about an appropriate edge. I talked about the 3 stages of a yin yoga practice. The first one is to find your position and then stay there. Yeah. And then the second version or the second stage is to stretch into a deeper variation of that pose and then stay there. And then the third phase is to find an even deeper variation. And with each variation, you're removing props so that you're allowing the body to rest even deeper into the pose, stretching and gently tugging on the connective tissue in through the back of the body. So we'll be here. Let's move into phase 2. So if you want to move the props around, you can. The whole body completely relaxed, resting. Now there is a connective tissue, a band of connective tissue that runs from the balls of the feet, behind the ankles, the calves, the thighs, the buttocks, lower back, mid back, upper back, all the way up and wraps its way around the forehead. One long piece of fascia, connective tissue, one long piece that joins from the base of the feet all the way through to the forehead. We're going into the third and final stage here, so moving props even further away from you to allow the body to sink. And it's in this pose that we're really activating every single area in this long connective tissue. This is a really beautiful way to open up through the back of the neck as well, letting the head rest. We're going to come out of this pose really, really slowly, super slow. Using your hands to move your way out. Take your time, there's no rush. And place your hands behind you, resting into your hands, long arms.
And if you like to bring movement into your feet, you can, or you can just allow the body to rest here, sitting back, letting this rebound effect come into play. Now you can stay right there. I'm just going to come up and see if there's anything that I need to be aware of here. Anything in the chat? No? Okay. Good. And you can gently open the eyes. Come up to seated. I'm going to move into a wide-legged position now. So in Yang Yoga, this is called Upavishta Konasana, wide-angled forward fold. But in Yin Yoga, we call this, I think it's Dragonfly, I think. Can't remember right now. But the legs are nice and wide. Now, this isn't an exercise in how wide you can get your legs. This is an exercise in really stretching through the inner thighs, which will inadvertently also stretch through the backs of the legs. Again, the legs are nice and floppy, yeah? And we're going to do the same thing, except now we're going to fold the body forward with the legs wide. So again, props, yeah, props up, prop yourself as much as you need. And again, you can either have the chin resting in the hands, or you can have the forehead resting down. Again, 3 minutes. 3 minutes. So here you'll feel a gentle tug in through the inner thighs, working different meridian lines. Really activating through the kidney and the urinary bladder here from an energetic standpoint in the meridians. Notice your breath. You may wish to move a little bit deeper into the pose onto phase 2. And in a traditional yin yoga practice, we are normally in any given class for 60 to 75 minutes. And these 3 poses, supported child's pose, caterpillar, and dragonfly, we would be in these poses for anything between 5 and 10 minutes. So you're getting a slight taste, a small little taste of what a yin yoga practice is and feels like. But know that there is so much more to explore, not only from a physical perspective, but also mentally. So start to notice what happens in your mind, in the brain, your thoughts, the monkey mind. What happens when you're in these poses? We're going into the final phase now, so you can move even deeper in, removing that final layer of prop. And finding that appropriate edge, and then finding stillness in that edge. Really finding that soft approach. And the beautiful thing about resilience is that we find a sense of compassion for self through the practice of resilience. We recognize that life doesn't always go as planned and that it's no big deal. And that even if it is a big deal, we have a choice in how we react and respond to it. So not only do we create space for ourselves to make mistakes, to fail, to course correct and pivot, but in so doing, we also allow that same luxury to others. We give them the space to fail and make mistakes so that they don't live with the guilt and the shame of whatever it is that they feel. We give them the space to bounce back quicker. So by practicing this for self, we actually do the same thing for others. All right, we're going to come out of this pose now. Be soft, be gentle. There is no rushing out of these poses, right? Slow, gentle, slow and gentle. And then you can bring your hands to either sides of the legs and gently bring them in. Bring the legs in. Okay. So now we'll bring the feet to touch, the knees wide. Grab your NEROLI, please. And we're going to close before we go into a small, short Yoga Nidra and Savasana practice. We're going to close this energetic pathway by applying NEROLI on your thumb. Dab it onto both thumbs. And then in the center of the ball of the foot, like if you point your foot, there's like a little ridge, like a little dent, a divot right in the ball of the foot when you point it. That little spot there is called kidney 1, the beginning of the kidney meridian, a quantum acupoint. We've done so much work through the back of the body today, the fascia and the connective tissue. We're just going to press NEROLI very, very lightly into that quantum acupoint. Remember, we're allowing the thumbs to rest in that spot. We're not pressing hard. It's just a gentle, light, feathery touch. If you need to prop your knees up to allow some support in through the backs of the thighs, do that too. At this point, these meridian lines, they carry with them fear. Fear. Nervous tension, nervousness, anxiety. Yeah. So remember, everything's connected, right? Everything in your body is connected. Nothing works in isolation. You're really supporting all of these aspects of self through this practice. One more minute here. Notice if there's any energy moving through the body, any twitches, any itches, any sneezes or coughs, any pain, not shooting pain, but just a niggly feeling or a feeling of something new. Just notice. All right, we're going to release that point. And then I'd love for you to lie down. You're going to move into a Savasana, but first go through a Yoga Nidra. Now I want to show you how to prop yourself up for a really, really good Savasana. So I want you to bring something underneath your knees, so that now we're creating some space in the backs of the legs and the lower back. We've done a lot of work in tugging through that connective tissue, and now we're going to support it as much as possible. So something underneath the knees, a rolled up blanket, a cushion or something like that. And then you're going to lie back. Now, just because mine's lifted, I'm going to put a prop here. You don't have to. And then I want you to bring something and place it on your belly. Yeah, just something on your belly, whether it's a prop, a cushion, anything, just place it on your belly. And you may want to put something warm on. Grab a blanket, put socks on, maybe an eye pillow over your eyes, or something just covering your eyes so that the light is blocked. The feet flop out, the hands are open with the palms facing the sky. Take a deep breath in through the nose and a long breath out the mouth. Again, breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. One more time. Maybe this time even sighing it out. Now you're going to keep the body still. But I'm going to guide you through what we call yogic sleep. And all this does is brings your attention, your focus to different body parts as I name them. So the body stays still, there's no movement, there's nothing that happens in the physical body. It's just your focus moves to different parts of the body as I name them. Beginning with the right thumb. Bring your attention to your right thumb. Don't move it, just bring your attention there. And now we begin. Right hand. We move to the right pointer finger, right middle finger, right ring finger, pinky finger, palm of the hand, back of the hand, right wrist, elbow crease, elbow, shoulder, throat, left hand thumb, left forefinger, left middle finger, left ring finger, left pinky finger, palm of the hand, back of the hand, elbow crease, elbow, shoulder, throat, chest, rest in the chest. We move now to the right big toe, next toe, third toe, fourth toe, pinky toe, top of the foot, base of the foot, the ankle, the knee, right knee crease, right hip, left big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, left pinky, top of the foot, base of the foot, the ankle, left knee, knee crease, left hip, the pelvis, belly button, rest in the belly button. We move to the back of the body, right buttock, left buttock, right lower back, left lower back, right mid back, left mid back, right shoulder blade, left shoulder blade, back of the neck. Back of the head. top of the head. Right eye, left eye, right nostril, left nostril, tip of the nose, upper lip, bottom lip, chin, right cheekbone, left cheekbone, the whole face. The whole head. The whole torso. All four limbs. The whole body. The whole body. The whole body. You're letting your whole body rest. And begin to deepen your breath. Bringing life back to your body. The fingers and the toes moving gently. Rolling through the ankles and the wrists. Draw the knees into the chest and hug yourself. Bring yourself into a tiny little ball. And then roll to your favorite side and just stay there for 3 breaths. You may wish to bring your arm underneath your ear of whichever side you're lying on, just to cushion the head, cradle the head. And then press yourself up to a seat, a comfortable seat where we'll be in a very short meditative Reiki practice. So you're seated, your eyes are closed if that feels comfortable for you. Bring your right hand to your lower belly as low as you can go, and your left hand to your forehead, connecting the third eye and the sacral root. Using the warmth of your hands, the energy that pulses through your palms, allowing that energy to infuse your body. This universal life force making its way through the body. Beautiful way to bring your body back into balance and close the loop from where we began our practice. If your mind needs something to do, just bring your attention into either the left or the right hand. You're either witnessing the breath through the right hand or feeling the touch of your left hand on your forehead. Relax the face, the jaw, the eyes, the whole body relaxed. One more breath here. And then release the hands. Keep your eyes closed. You're here for a minute, just allowing the dust, the fairy dust, to settle. And make that 30 seconds. Hands to heart. Bring your thumb tips to your third eye, to your lips, to your heart. And to our shared offerings, we bow. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.